Good evening, everybody. It has been some time, and I'm not going to apologize for that. It's just been some time. But I have been learning some things. Um, I have been, I guess, in a way you could say, validated on some things. Uh, some things in my life was confirmed, and I have been enjoying it. Although you have not been able to be present, I am still very much here. I have been thinking on different things to share with you all, based off of the learnings that I've been doing and based off of some of the interactions that I've been having. But I knew tonight that I had to absolutely share this with everyone. I If you're watching from my Facebook page, I do apologize. I could not do live, only because the internet would act up. I noticed that every time one of the videos would skip. So I decided to just use the YouTube platform. So here I am. But tonight's topic is I am that I am. And I chose a topic because I was just outside walking my dog, and I said a prayer, and it was like, I am that I am. And then I began to think about what it means to be your authentic self. Because and I know I have talked about this topic before, but it's like I need to share this again, because when you are your authentic I cannot talk. I'm getting my words mixed up. When you are your authentic self, you know without a doubt what you like, what you don't like. You know pretty much, like they say, the ins and out of the program, right? And the things that you don't know until you know them, right? Because we're always on a constant journey of learning. How many times have we heard that we are spiritual beings living a human experience? And if you never heard that term, think about it. Think about it. We are here to learn and commune with God. We are not here on our own account. We are not here just to live our lives, just to live. We always have an assignment. Each and every one of us have an assignment on this earth. I know it's kind of hard for everyone to believe that but we each have an assignment on this earth, whether that is to create chaos or to create good in the world. We have all been assigned something to do on this earth. And what we do is we trigger things in each other so that we may become who we are meant to be. Everybody wants to be like someone else. Some people actually want to be someone else, and so they do all kind of things to fashion their life. But individuality is the key thing to being who you are. That's one thing I'm not going to say I never was afraid to be who I have been. There were times in my life where I was still learning who I was. And in that space, you can't show somebody a lesson, right? You can't show them, oh, I'm taking this class. I'm a master of this information. No, it's not. You're still learning. And so there has been a multitude of changes that's happened in my life, and understanding how God is operating with those changes. Well, changes to me, they were always present for God, right? Has been interesting because of the places that it has taken me, the people that I have met, the people I've connected with, the experiences that I've had with people. Some good, some not so good, right? But in all, it has helped me to understand who I am. It's one of those, excuse me, I'm not tired, y'all. So I'm gonna put that out there. I am nowhere near sleepy. Um, but this message is coming out. But one of the things is, it goes along with that saying, you know how when the parents tell you to eat something and you're like, I don't like it, and it's like the parents say, well, you never even tried it. How do you know that you don't like a thing if you've never tried it? How do you know that something isn't for you if you've never tried it? One thing, an aspect of Jesus's life on earth that I think people forget is that Jesus is a portion of God that said, I want to live like the human. Let me go down and see what it's like firsthand. And so Jesus had human experiences and was able to translate that back to God. And that means that God had to do something out of God's normalcy to see if he liked it or did not like it. Now, we haven't gotten the final conclusion of that yet, but we do know that the scripture said that everything that he made was good. Everything that he made was good. Even the bad that we go through was made good. Good for us to push us in the right direction that we're supposed to go. That is why, of course, now I'm getting a scripture. Oh, hold on. I'm getting a scripture. There is my phone. I want to make sure that I cite it correctly. I do want to say that this scripture is from Paul. It's funny because as I was typing it in my phone, it popped right on up. Oh, it's not Paul. So yeah. Um, Hold on. I don't want this version. I want the King James version because I'm a poet. It is Songs 119. This one I want to say is a song by one of the it's not by David. I want to say it's by one of the key praisers, one of the Levite priests. But it's Songs 119. verse 71. And it says, "It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I may learn your statutes. The law of your mouth is better to me than thousands of coins of gold and silver." That was 71 and 72. And it's better to be afflicted because God will, in the affliction, God points you to the direction that you have to go into. And I recently was talking about this very thing to a friend of mine. And the reason, well, first he was contacting me to ask me some questions, but what I was getting, the messages that I was getting from God was that you're trying to fight something that I'm causing. You're trying to fight the direction that I have you to go in because it's an affliction. And in afflictions, the things that happen the most is that it pushes us out of our comfort zone. Remember, I said Jesus is a portion of God that came down to earth. The comfort zone for God is in the heavenly realms. To come down to earth meant to become lowly, to become the thing that he created, to understand the temptations of life, to understand what it is like to be hated, to become angry, to become sad and depressed, to experience joy, prosecution, upliftment, right? These are things that we go through as human beings. But then there are some that try to stay overtly positive as if nothing is happening and nothing is going wrong, and they want to make sure that make it seem like everything is going right. That's not normal. In fact, that's a lie. When you try to paint a picture of something that isn't true, that is a lie. I'm not going to have to tell you why that's wrong because you already know. And then in all of this, God teaches us that in all things give thanks. So we must give thanks that we're suffering. No. The thanks is, and I said that because there's some people that will say and preach that you should thank God that you got this and you got that, and then when people are suffering, they're like, well, well, you still got breath and life in your lungs, and be thankful because somebody didn't wake up this morning, and that's true. Somebody did not wake up this morning. However, what we're in the good words of my friend Kenya, um, when we are giving thanks to God, we are giving thanks to God of the things that, or of what we are grateful for. Can we be grateful for the things that we are left with after the storm? Can we be grateful for what we do have when something has been taken away from us? Can we still show God gratitude when the thing that we love, the person that we love the most, has been taken away from us? Can we still continue to show gratitude? Now that is when we, in all things, we give thanks. It's not being grateful that the situation happened, right? That's just a conduit of the road that we have to take. I remember the first time I got to the point where I could say, Lord, I thank you for the time that I spent with my father. Although it increased during the last few years and months of his life, neither one of us knowing that he would no longer be on this plane, I was grateful that I had started getting the thing I had always desired. I was grateful that I could say I have memories with my father, because I have some friends who don't even have those type of memories with their fathers, let alone a relationship. And although, in my opinion, it was cut short, I will always have those to remember my father by. Uh, and so it just shaped who I was, because there were some things that I was working on during the time of his death that I had to put down. I've since then picked them back up, and I am thriving, I must say. Um, there were things that I had to learn about myself as it pertains to pushing myself and understanding that I can get through anything. I may have to take a break, but I can get through it. Welding something new and unknown and in unfamiliar spaces is a thing that we have to learn to be okay with. And that all helps us to see who we are to our core. It is the stripping away of false narratives, of things that people spoke on us, ideas that people has put in our head to make us believe we were a thing, and help us to get to the truth of who we are to our core. Now, I've never been one to really follow too much. I've always been somewhat of an oddball because of the way that I think, the way that I perceive the world. Conversations that conversations that I'm having with God, and I'm trying to have them with people, and they're looking at me like, okay, you done lost your mind. No, this is what God is telling me. You may not understand it, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And having to understand that at sometimes I have to be quiet and just let things be. Sometimes I can't express what I'm being told or what I'm hearing in the spiritual realm, because not everybody's on that level to receive the word. And sometimes there's been times where people will want me to release a word, and I'm like, I can't. I haven't been released. And if you are a prophet or prophet adjacent, meaning sometimes you can give prophecies, right? Sometimes you cannot release what you're being told because the time isn't right. There's been many times where, and you all have heard it when I say I was developing something, but it's not time for me to release it. But then later on, I will release it. I may not tell you that this is the release word that I was holding on to, but it gets released. And that's because it there's an appointed season and time for things. And just like the planter, you have to know when to drop the seed into the earth, when to water it, when to nurture it, when to cover it up for winter, when to take the cover off for the spring, and watch it grow and flourish the way it's supposed to. I'm just being quiet so you can take that in. Because even with things that are happening right now, there are a lot of people that are scared when God has said He's not giving us the spirit of fear. People have forgot that before governmental systems, before institutions, before economic wealth, there has always been community. There has always been family. There has always been a God that supplies all of our needs. And I think back on my ancestors. I actually think about my ancestors a lot. Sometimes I sit and just think back on what their life was like without X. Now, I grew up in a time where computers had just started to get on the scene, and I'm dating myself. I know that. But I remember there was a time when we didn't have computers. I remember my mom typing up things on her typewriter. That's I even used to type on the typewriter. I thought it was cool. I love to hear them keys going tap 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 tap, shing tap 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 tap. I love history, right? And I love antiques, so I still kind of like the typewriter. But one of the things is when you go back even further, half the things that we have now, I'm not even going to say half, more than half of the things, I would say about 95% of the things that we have now, they did not have. And being a public health major, seeing the historical context of things, understanding how as we have advanced, rather not advanced but advanced, so have other things. So when we for example, climate change, I've been doing a lot of things around climate change, so it's kind of like fresh on my mind. It's everything that we do takes an effect on climate change. uh what we eat, what we drive, how many lights we have on in the house. It all makes an impact on our environment. I'm not going to sit up here and try to make the pieces tonight, but I just want you to know that it does make an impact on our environment. And then to think back on the ancestors who use the sun as their light and the moon as their light. That was it. And then not even introducing fire. And then that was it. Heating of the homes, but living underneath the stars. And that was all they needed. Is this the simple life? And the simple life gets people a lot further than what people believe. I always, whenever I say, I'm not going to say always, but I'm hearing right now Lauryn Hill's song. It could all be so simple, but you rather make it hard. People have made things harder than what it's supposed to be. People have complicated their own way of living to live a life that's still not feeling for people. You can have all the goods in the world, but what is man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And because of greed, there are so many things that are happening with climate change, with the family unit, the community unit. And people think that they are getting away with it. That's the thing, is that people are believing that they are getting away with things. And in that, they are causing themselves harm. Causing themselves harm. And so when we talk about how far we've come and looking at the advancements of mankind, and then looking at those who restrict others from gaining access, they lose other things. Other things are missed. But when people struggle, they tend to struggle in groups. Now, there is a such thing as people struggling alone. But when it's a massive thing, right, it's hard to miss. Because when I see you struggling and I'm struggling, baby, we got to uphold each other. We got to get through this thing. And the only way we going to get through this thing is with each other, holding each other's hands. But we got to understand that we got to encourage each other as well. We can't just be there and be like, yeah, the same thing happened to me. Yeah, I don't know what we gonna do. No, 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 no. I'm in the same predicament. I sure am. But you know what? I'm gonna uplift you and you gonna uplift me. And we're gonna make this thing work. We're gonna find a way. Right? We are intelligent creatures. Because look at everything around us. I promise you. Everything around us was not made on its own accord. It meant that somebody somewhere had the thought to create it. Someone made the materials to make the thing a masterpiece. Someone was able to carve out and place the pieces on the pieces that had to be purchased to create the masterpiece. Then someone had the gumption to say, oh, I can help you sell these pieces in mass production. And they made them. And then others said, oh, we will store them in our in different locations so that other people can also experience the masterpiece from the vision that you had. We're in this together. And guess what? We each know how creative and we each know our own strengths and weaknesses, but understand that we are in this together because to our core, we know who we are. To our core, we know, oh, I can make this paint for you, but that's it. You take the paint and you create the picture. And then somebody else is going to take that picture and they'll know how to mix it with other stuff and call it a room full of excellence. I was about to say magnificence. But we each have our own place. And that is why it's important to be uniquely you. That is why you had to be the I am that I am. I am whatever God designed me to be. And I'm sorry if that does not match the definition of what and who you thought that I was, but that is not my problem. That is not my weight to carry. I am who I am. I am the things and everything that God has placed in me that comes out. I am every experience designed to help push me to the creation, the overall creation that God has created me to be. I am the shortcomings. I am the excellencies. I am the mistakes, which is shortcomings, right? I am the bad attitudes. I am the happy attitudes. I am the character witness that that everybody loves, but I could also be the ones that people hate for various reasons or dislike. I am the person that will rub somebody the wrong way and do not care. But I'm also the same person that is loving and kind. Because in the rubbing of the wrong way, I am rubbing that person the wrong way, not because I choose to do that, not because I am doing that on I don't want to say I'm not doing it just to do it, right? I'm rubbing people the wrong way because it's something in me that they don't like. But it's not my problem to make me like them. No, or make them like me. Excuse me. It's not in my I'm not supposed to make anyone like me. Now that's one thing I coach you. I do not care if you do not like me. I don't care because I have to be me. And if you don't like me, you have to now ask yourself, why don't I like this person when I know nothing about this person? But most people don't do that, which is why we get to the point of rubbing people the wrong way. You're not doing it on purpose. It is what it is. But it is for that person to understand why that person is rubbing them the wrong way. That is that person's key to say, hey, I got to change, or hey, I need to look away. It is not the time to say, oh, I'm going to engage and just do things just to do things to that person because I don't like them. No, that is how people get in trouble. That is how, as we like to say, karma happens, that cause and effect, because you touch somebody that did nothing to you. God now has to punish you because you done touched one of his own. We don't know who God is using at any given moment in time. And it's not just singular persons, right? It could be like a storm, an incident that happens and it pushes us to a thing. There's this book that I was just reading. Hold on, it's on my reading list. I actually purchased the book, so I know I could take it off my list. But it's called Tribal. I want to give you the author's name. Hold on. It's Michael. His first name is Michael. Yep, there we go. Oh, not yeah. Michael Morris. It is his name, Michael Morris. But it's called Tribal. How the cultural instincts that divide us can help bring us together. And the premise of the book talks about how we as a people are set up in different groups. And these groups are together based off of similarities, similar qualities, right? And we do things in a certain way, certain practices that we do. And in those things, we develop a community. That community is its own tribe. And when that community goes to another community who do things differently, has different cultural practices, and they are in the same space, they now have to create a new culture where there can be peace in the land. And the only way to do that is if one does not try to dominate the other, but to live equally so with that other group. And then it becomes a new identity. The two tribes together become a new community. There's new things that happen that stem from that. But the beautiful thing is that it becomes a unified front when they can come together. It is only when one tries to dominate something else or someone else or the other group that we start to see the strife. Why must everybody feel like they got to dominate something else or someone else? Why? It's because there's something lacking. So they think. The only thing that's lacking is that those that try to show dominance over others don't know who they are to their core. Yeah. Y'all thought I was walking away from that? Oh no. Because how can you say I am that I am if you don't know who you are? Well, that's just the way that I am. No, that's just the hurt that you are. That's just the anger that you are. That's just the depression that you are. Because when you know who you are, things don't phase you the same way. This is StreamYard. I love the duck. It's water on a duck's back when you know who you are. So, I am that I am. Who are you? Who do you say that you are? Who have you learned yourself to be? Who have you seen to be developed out of the growth that's taking place in your life? Mhm. Is there anybody that you're comparing yourself to? Because the only person that you should compare yourself to is yourself. Now, I know that this happened last week. How did I handle that situation? Okay, we're not going to handle that situation the same way. We're going to be much better this go round. We take inventory and evaluate our own self, or we're supposed to anyway. We're supposed to take internal evaluations to see what we are doing to ourselves that we may not know that we're doing. We have to take the inventory to see what needs to change, what needs to be added, right? But again, it takes knowing who you are. So that's your homework. Understand who you are to your core so that you don't have to worry about being somebody else in another lifetime, in another space, and just live your life to who you are. If the whole group is saying, "Oh, well, we gotta wear a ring. If we gotta wear green, all green, everything," but you're not feeling green that day, you feeling yellow. Be that lemon in all that sea of green. Hmm. And understand that you're not standing out of rebellious reasons, but you're standing out because that's just who you are. you're not meant to fit in. Understand that green doesn't work for you, and that's okay. If the green doesn't work for you and that yellow works for you, like that green works for them, wear that yellow. Stop watering down yourself to conform yourself to other people's ideologies, ideas about who you are. Stand on who you are. Understand who you are. And be who you are. So thank you for joining tonight. Please like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, share this video for real though with those that you know need to hear it. Because we all sometimes lose a piece of ourselves in a course of something that happens, right? So, through circumstance. But sometimes we need that reminder, like, hey, wake up. Are you awake? Are you awake? So do that. You all have a beautiful morning, because it is morning. And I will see you later. And as always, don't try to be, don't think about being, don't question God if you should be. Just be blessed.